Hey everybody, Cory from Aquariumcoop. Today we're talking about tropical fish and plants as a side hustle. Now this is different than kind of the series I've done in the past, which is breeding fish for fun and profit. I've done talks on this and all kinds of stuff, and that information's about 7 years old. Most of it's still applicable, but up top we'll put and down below we'll put a link to that series, which is like 8 videos long. It's going to go a little more in depth of different things to actually breed and propagate and do that, and less actually turning it into a business and more that's supplemental to your hobby. But all of that applies to this, but this is kind of the more in depth, nerdier version. And I think this makes a lot more sense now than it ever did. We're working from home more often. There's just more jobs, not, still minority, right? But still more jobs have that possibility. And then also the rising costs of shipping, inflation, and everything has changed the landscape with fish. Fish in general have just gone up in price to buy them, and I believe that the sales price has not gone up as much. And so what that does, that creates a gap for a side hustle opportunity. So we're going to cover breeding fish, and trying to turn a profit on that. And obviously we're not going to go into every fish and how it breeds. Those are different videos. We're going to talk about propagating plants and which plants make sense and what you need to do to actually get buyers for both those things, how I would structure my business, what I'd be targeting, and how I'd be analyzing maybe my local market and everything. And so it's going to be a fairly long video, but we've had, over the years, the past, probably 7 or 8 years, we've had people that have kind of followed the hobby version of this and are making $1,000 to $2,000 a month selling to local fish stores and local buyers and everything. And they've been updating me, and they've, got tips and tricks, and they've learned things and all that kind of stuff. And so there are people that I would say very few people make this their main income forever. But if you are aware of Dean on the channel, he basically has a side business, side hustle of breeding fish, and he's been doing that for years. And it's enough income on paper to, do things in life, and not just like, well, yeah, you made $40. It's more like, oh yeah, you did $35,000 in sales that year. Like, that's pretty good. And $35,000 in sales is a far cry from making $35,000 at a job. There's still all the taxes to pay. There's still all the costs involved. It's not the same as you went to work, someone paid you. It is, you've got the upkeep and the costs and the bills and all of that to go with it. So let's start. Where are we gonna start? We're gonna start with fish, and I want to break down why I think fish are now better positioned to breed and as a hobby, or not as a hobby, as a business than they were maybe 10 years ago. Well, ever since COVID, basically, we've never reset shipping fees. Shipping is at an all-time high around the world, where most fish are bred in other countries. And to offset that, instead of just seeing these absolutely outrageous fish prices, they're broken down into different categories. So usually when I'm importing fish, or a wholesaler is, or whoever, there's going to be the actual fee on an airplane, right? And that's can be fairly expensive. There's inspection fees, and then there's bag fees if you're going from a transporter or transshipper. And that means, like, oh, if you're ordering out of China, each bag has an additional $25 fee on it because of importing and everything. And then there's the styrofoam box fees because they're big and bulky, and each one of those is like $10 to $12, right? And then you've got the actual just shipping costs, which are hundreds of dollars, and those get better with scale. And so 50 boxes importing might be $2,000, and 10 boxes importing might be $1,800. Like, it's very, very disproportionate. So when you're dealing with stores and things like that, their costs per fish are actually pretty high because they're not ordering 50 boxes at a time like a wholesaler is. And because of all of that together, that creates this gap where you can actually raise a fish and afford to feed it and put some time into it and turn a profit and still be cheaper than importing a fish because it's of those things. So that won't work for everybody. Like, if you're in Florida, sometimes there's too many farms in Florida and you won't be able to do that. If you're in a different country in the world, that you might run into that as well. But usually even then, there's always gaps in the market, and every business will be, can you identify the gaps? And when you can, you make money. And we're in a testament to that. We have made our living purely on fish. I guess I used to be in charge of the breeding program for the Greater Salad Aquarium Society. I've been buying fish from hobbyists and wholesalers and importers and farms for the last 15 years straight. So I've done it a time or two basically, and there's definitely areas of expertise people can fall into, which really helps them. And then also just seeing like, wow, it really is nice when someone is locally breeding that, as opposed to waiting at the mercy of whether you can get it. So all right. So jumping into fish, basically all the fish that you will breed for the most part will never sell for less than $1 now. There is some outliers, like a neon tetra typically when you're buying in bulk is less than $1 from a wholesaler. But when we're talking about fish, we need to talk about what you can actually breed, how fast things are going to sell. Is there a gap in the market? Like every wholesaler, every farm, everybody kind of breeds the bread and butter neon tetra. So there's not a lot of open opportunity there outside of you going, hey, I'm going to set up a giant facility and really breed them in massive, massive scale. Then you might be able to play in there. And that is a business of all I do is neon tetras. Where what we're talking about today is starting a side hustle, and maybe you're setting 1 to 3 tanks up, you're minimally investing, and you're starting to produce profit, and then you reinvest those profits and you grow this business bigger, and maybe someday you step away or take a lesser role at your full-time job so that you can grow that bigger, and then maybe it is your full-time job someday. Whereas breeding neon tetras, for the most part, would be full-time right away, and difficult skills and difficult to scale. All right. So, what fish are you going to breed? Well, first, you want to manage your costs. And the breeding the fish is the fun part, but you got to make sure that you don't eat yourself out of house and home of like, oh, I made 1,200 angelfish with 3 pairs, and I'm hatching out live baby brine every day, and that comes with a cost. And then they're graduating to this dry food, and that comes with a cost. And there's this many water changes, and there's this much heating going on, and you may cost yourself more than you can actually produce, especially if you're factoring in time. If this is, hey, you've got an hour or two to spend every day after work, that is a much different path of fish than I actually have no other job and I can do this full time. If you're working from home, those 2 hours can actually be fit in, kind of during your breaks. You're like, hey, I can feed 3 or 4 times a day because every time I go on a break at work, I feed my fish in my little fish room. And then I'm getting really good growth, and that translates to better profits, right? So when it comes to breeding fish, the first thing that's going to limit you is the difficulty. Can you breed stingrays? Can you breed discus? Can you do some of these things that the dollar value is very high, and a lot of times the space requirements are very high and the food bills are very high, but can you even breed them? There are skills to some of this. In general, I tell people to start with easy things like live bears. A guppy is easy to breed. It gives birth to live guppies. Shrimp, kind of the same way. They basically give birth to live shrimp. And so the prices are based on the type of fish you're going to breed, with neon tetras being super cheap, but they have huge spawns, right? So they'll be less than $1 each you'll get, but you'll spawn so many of them. But you also want to make sure that the fish you're breeding has big sales. It does you no good if you've got 1,200 angelfish, and between the 4 local stores around you, they only sell 500 angelfish a month. That doesn't help you at all. You're gonna lose money on that because you're feeding too many. And one of the most common traps is a breeder will pull every spawn. What does that mean? Every time they spawn, whether I'm still breeding or raising them up and I haven't sold them yet, I'm going to raise more. And you see people with 5,000 angelfish and they're only selling 500 a month. And the food bill is so high, they'd be better off have never have bred one, because they never think about the area just can't consume that many angelfish. They will spawn every week, whether you're wanting to or not. So Another example of that would be Corridoras. So even just Corridoras themselves have different spawn rates. So like a Panda Corridora that might retail at a local store anywhere from $5 to $12, right? They typically spawn 10 or less at a time. Whereas a bronze or albino Corridora, they do 300 plus eggs at a time. Huge spawns. And so you should expect to get more for a Panda Corridora than you would an albino or a bronze. And the prices reflect those at retail as well. You see, like, oh, those fish are pretty cheap when I go and I see them. And so you, even if it, you gotta look at it and go, well, how many pandas do I think they're selling? How many albinos? How many bronzes? I can tell you right now, more pandas sell than bronzes and albinos. But one spawn of albinos with 300 of them might last you 3 to 6 months of, hey, I'm selling 50 to 75 of those every month at $1.50 a piece, and that's not bad if you're supplementing it with other fish. So getting a good mix of fish and shrimp and snails and plants as well to provide to a local store, you're much better off selling them 3 different species that they all sell 100 of every month than breeding 1,000 of one fish, but they still only sell 100 of them a month, right? So the right mix is very important for your local stores. Could be African cichlids. Maybe you've got very hard water locally. Could even be saltwater fish technically. It could be almost anything, but reading the market, very important in any business you're going to be in. When it comes to shrimp, I really like neocardinia shrimp, so the cherry shrimp, blue velvets, yellows, things like that. The everyday shrimp. Every person can carry those shrimp. They can all sell those shrimp. They sell in high numbers. We sell, I know from a meeting last week, we sold 170 of them last week. So we sold 170 just cherry shrimp. And so we're buying 1 to 200 cherry shrimp every week at just our one store. And so that's more than I can breed without really setting up a farm to do it. But then I've got some guppies over here that with one tank of them, I breed more than we sell. We only sell maybe 40 of them a month. In the 40 breeder, I make more than 40 a month. And so that's actually a problem. And so it doesn't do me any good to breed more of those. It also doesn't help a whole lot if I make 30 cherry shrimp, because it won't change that I have to order them into the store every week. And it's kind of easier just to get them from one source. And so some of that is you just got to go, okay, they need this many. I've got to scale up to get that many and hopefully work out the deal with them. They're always buying from me and I'm reliable. So the next step in choosing fish, the more common the fish is, the higher the sales are, the more likely it is to sell. So you might want, I get $100 per stingray, except the store only sells 2 stingrays a month, or maybe every 6 months. Where guppies, they might sell 600 guppies per month. And maybe you can sell 2 stingrays, it's $200, but that same tank can make 600 guppies, or same series of tanks, because you'll need multiple probably, can make 600 guppies, that's $600 in sales. And so a lot of times we let our emotion get in there and our ego of like, I only want to breed cool things, people be impressed. Well, I'll tell you what, making money in business usually is doing the things that other people don't want to do. And maybe you don't want to be the number one guppy guy in the world, but if you're getting rich off it, the joke's on everybody else, right? So breed what's going to sell, doesn't do you any good. But there are markets out there because obviously someone's making stingrays and they found a way to get them out there. And we'll talk about how you can unload the fish after you've actually, kind of made them. And so the next thing I'm going to talk about is that alternative route of high-end, rare stuff, higher startup costs, more niche, less sales, not as much longevity sometimes. So you might get into like the dark night rams or the black rams, and they sell for 40, now they're down anywhere from 25 to $50 a piece, and they're just as hard or easy to spawn as other rams, but there's much less of a market. Everybody that was buying them to get them and breed them and sell them, and everybody forgot that the average public walks in and they'd much rather have a blue or a gold one, not a black one. The black ones, you can't see them in the tank. And so it was a lot of times you'll get these frenzies to buy these unique rare fish because you haven't seen it before, But then you have to actually ask yourself, is it better? And a great example of this was albino arowanas. 5 years ago, they were $1,000 a piece. I saw on a list today, I can buy them at $10. Of course, we'd sell them for more than $10, but turns out albinos just aren't actually in more demand than a normal arowana is. At the time, they were newest and greatest. People grow them up, they're going to breed them. And if it had been that they were the next best thing, those people would be rich. But more often than not, you're better off going on a proven winner that people already know they want than basically playing, a gamble and hoping it'll pay off. So, when it comes to high-end plecos like zebra plecos and things like that, I would caution everybody, it's high startup costs, longevity. There's always going to be people that want them, but it takes 2 years before you can even think about spawning them. So this is a business you're setting up and like, okay, 2 years from today, I might be able to spawn them. You may not have ever spawned them before. So it's 2 years till they're old enough to breed. It might take you another year to figure out how to breed them. So now you're 3 years into feeding and cleaning and all of this, and you haven't made a dime back. And that's in business world. If you've gone 3 years without making money, you actually should close down. In some states, you actually have to close down if you don't make money. So I highly recommend starting with everyday kind of bread and butter type fish that are going to be easier to get rid of, lesser stakes, meaning when you make a mistake, it won't cost you as much money. When something goes wrong, won't cost you as much money. Plus, you can build a reputation. If you build a reputation for having great fish that are healthy and a store's been buying from you for a year or two, and then you sell them stingrays and they kill them because they don't know how to take care of them, you can go, hey, we've got 2 years of me selling you healthy fish. Look, I've got 5 more pups at home. They're still healthy. This is on your store. Where if you just walk in and you're like, I've got stingrays for sale or discus for sale, and they buy some and they die, you don't have that rapport, and they're going to go, hey, I'm going to charge my credit card back. You have to get me a refund. Whatever it's going to be, it's not going to go over as easy. And it's much easier if you bring them a group of, guppies and they lose 12 of them and you just give them 12 more and make them happy, and then the relationship keeps going. So also starting in a business, I do believe this is one of the cheapest businesses you can start. Outside of like a lawn mowing business where you already own a lawnmower and you could just go mow your neighbor's lawn and then just keep expanding from that. But you can start, I recommend starting with like a 20-gallon aquarium, and you need an air pump, a sponge filter, and maybe a light if you're growing plants. But you don't even have to have a light technically. And then you pick some fish and you're off to the races. Now, obviously, you need to know how to keep them alive and actually how to breed that specific fish. And there's skill to that, but most people that will be watching this will have already had several aquariums and are thinking about making a business. There will be people that have never kept one, and we see that come into the store where they come in and they're going to build this giant business and they've actually never worked with livestock. We see it in other facets of the world too, of, oh, you made a bunch of money and now you're buying a ranch and you're going to have cattle and horses and you're going to do all these things, you're going to make money. And then turns out you don't have the skill. You're not the horse whisperer, the cow whisperer. You don't want to do this thing. You don't recognize the diseases yet and that kind of stuff. And the same thing will happen in this business. If you don't know diseases and trends and seasonality and all of these things, you also won't work out long term. So getting in with a 20-gallon tank that takes about $50 to get it up and going to where you could actually start turning out a profit. And then as you're making more money, you can expand your business if you have the time available. And, maybe the first month you set up one tank and you get it going and it's starting to produce some babies. And then the next month you buy another tank. And so you can invest in this business $50 a month. And by month 3, you should have fish old enough to start selling. And that 4th tank now has paid for itself. And eventually you'll stop buying equipment and you'll just take profit. And we'll talk about that later. And that's what I've done. Was we started out of, I started working for a fish store, and then I cleaned people's aquariums and I was breeding fish. And as you kind of save up money and you learn the business, and then I did get an investor to start my retail store. Retail store was going okay. We were making, after working, 70 hours a week, I would basically take home about $40,000 before taxes. wasn't good enough. And so we actually had to keep expanding, and here we are today, and there's, we've got 30 plus employees, and we're doing fine. But it was every time you sold something, put that money back to buy the next thing to sell, to breed, to do all of these things. And now I don't breed anymore because we've kind of laid that out of 30 cherry shrimp in one tank doesn't move the needle enough. But some does, like the guppies. I actually make too many of those, and so I don't need to rely on that income anymore because I've gone past that. But that income, while I was working at a pet store and selling, I was doing African cichlids and stuff, and it was pretty good money, and shrimp as well, and guppies, and all of that. And it taught me lots, and that's what I'm trying to impart on you watching this video. You can do this as well. Just you have to have some business savvy to it. You have to have a long term. This isn't get rich overnight. It is like, oh, after a year you're making $300 a month, and after 2 years you're making $700 a month, and after 5 years you're making $2,000 a month, and after 10 years, hey, I'm making $5,000 a month, which sounds like a lot of money. But at $5,000 in sales, you still have all the food and all the electricity and all the tanks and all the equipment and all the shipping fees potentially, and credit card fees, and hiring a tax accountant. And so you might go, oh, well, it's actually only about $3,500 a month, and that might be livable for you, and that would be great. So some of the combos that work well that I mentioned in the other videos that you can watch would be things like guppies and shrimp, right? You can also do like an African cichlid, right? You can breed those, and there's some catfish you can breed with them, like some Synodontis. And there's basically anything you'll see in a store is bred by someone. You can look up the skill levels. Live bears are going to be the easiest. Shrimp are going to be very easy. Most snails are very easy. Angelfish are pretty easy. Apistogrammas are pretty easy. African cichlids are pretty easy. Some of the bristlenose and other things are pretty easy. And when I say pretty easy, everyone's got their own skill level, right? It's not everyone's going to get the first try. Some stuff will be harder in your water. You should look at what kind of water you have, because that, if, like here, I'm on a well and I have very hard water. It makes no sense for me to try and be a neon tetra breeder. It makes all the sense in the world for me to try and do live bears or rainbow fish or African cichlids because they love that water. I don't have to fight against that. I also don't have to pay for water. My water is free, so I have a little bit of an advantage right there. And so if you have the opposite water, like at the store, we have very soft water, it would make sense to try doing tetras. It would make sense to do angels and discus and crystal shrimps instead of neo shrimps. And so you want to lean into your strengths, lean away from the weaknesses, and you can always expand your business. Maybe someone down the road has opposite water from you, and you're buying their fish and reselling them. That can happen too. You could just be a middleman. Now I want to kind of jump over to plants, because plants are, I think, in a good spot as well. Not quite as good, but pretty good. And so with plants in general, I think you can get at least $2 per plant that's in demand. Now, usually that's going to be a potted plant. It means you had to buy some of those supplies, probably order them online and get them shipped to you, unless you have a hydroponic store locally, and that's little 2-inch net pots. Or you're going to attach it to something. So potted plants using stem plants and things like that. Stem plants are the easiest to grow, but also the cheapest, right? So you're probably only going to get about $2 for them, potted and rooted. So your plant grows to the top of your tank. You get in there and maybe you cut this much off of it. You plant that in your rock wool. It's sticking up about this much. You let that grow to be about this tall. The roots will have rooted out. You need to put a root tab or something in there so they'll actually root in that rock wool. And now you've got a plant this tall that you can take to the store and go, hey, this is $2 and I've got a bunch of these. And they go, great, I'll take 6 of these 5 different types of plants. And you made, $60, and you're going, okay, that's not bad. As I expand, it'll do better. And maybe they're buying the fish with them as well. Or you can go and you can do things that are slower growing. That would be things like Anubias and Java fern and Bulbitis. Could be different types of sword plants. Could be banana plants. Could be crinums. When it comes to the Java ferns, the Anubias, and the Bulbitis, you can replicate those, which is nice, and you basically dividing them. And what I like to do, or my tip for you, would be to go to like Home Depot and get the crushed lava rock that you can just buy in the big bags. And these lava rocks, you gotta wash them a ton because they're gonna be coated in dust and all that, like the lava dust, as I call it. And you really want to get those super duper clean and let them just fully dry. And then on a different day, probably you're going to come in, you're going to get your plants, you're going to cut them up, and you're going to get these little Anubias or Java ferns or whichever it is, and then you just super glue it to it. Now, you can use something like this, which is our super glue, and it comes in a little bit bigger of a package. You can use super glue gel, just normal super glue. You can buy it in giant quantities. It'll depend at what level you're at. My recommendation would be like, hey, maybe with one of your orders, you grab ours and make that'll, you could probably make 50 or 100 of these. And so you glue the roots onto them of these plants, and you're going to let them basically just sit in the tanks, space them out. You're going to let them sit in the tanks and just grow and attach. You want them just to grab onto this scratchy surface, and they'll automatically sink. And then you can go, hey, I sell these for, these are $7 or $8 a piece, and it's Anubias nana petite, and it's Java fern trident, and it's bulbitis. And then they sell them for, maybe they sell them for 15 to 20, depending on how bushy and how big they are, and your local market. Some markets they go for more, and some markets they go for less. So the propagation of plants, you really got to kind of set up a little mini farm, and things like those might take a month, maybe 6 weeks after you cut and divide and glue them. Whereas the stem plants, typically they're every week. You can kind of basically grow them to that length every single week, but they might not sell that many every week. And so you kind of have to keep prepping plants. But if they don't sell, sometimes when they get really long, they don't look very good anymore, or they don't look good in the store's tank, so you can actually slow down the sales. And so you kind of, with our vendors, when we're buying them, or if we're buying them from local, which we do or have, not at the moment, but we want them at a specific size. We want them at 6 inches, basically, so that when they're in our tanks, we've got a week to sell them before they get too tall and are flopping over. And so all the farms produce them and give them to us at 6 inches. We ask all of the customers to do the same thing, that supply us, and that gives us the room we need to actually sell them. So that's a very important kind of step, is what size they want them. Maybe they want extra big, and you can charge a little more for that because they've got really tall sales tanks or something like that. But in general, uniform size. You don't want giant ones one week and then tiny ones the next week, because customers don't like that, and the stores don't like that because the customers won't like that either. Last week I bought one that was tall and it was only $10. This week, same one, it's only this big and it's $10. That doesn't make sense. The next thing I would say is, I tend to keep plants, if you're going to propagate and sell them, in their own tanks without breeding fish, because you don't want them getting tugged out, things like that. I will keep algae-eating shrimp and snails, and maybe even a few fish in there. Maybe Siamese algae eaters, or maybe some rosy barbs. It depends on which plants you're propagating. Some they can be a little hard on. But you want to keep them very algae-free while they're not converting, already converted, while they're rooting out, and before you take them in. Then with all the pots, normally I take them in like kind of clear bins, and they're labeled and things like that, and I help them put them away at a store if I'm selling to them. And we'll talk about delivering and how you actually set all that up. Like with fish, more common types are more likely to sell. And so, like, we sell more Amazon stores than anything. We sell more Java moss than anything because they're very common. They get recommended a ton. Where the rarer things, just like rare fish, they don't sell very much. And so, like, that'd be like a snow white Anubias nana petite, or a marble Anubias nana petite, or certain pink flamingo crypts. It's not that there are no buyers. There are buyers. But at scale, you might not be able to sell as many, because, like, you could, if you had, if you make this to be a snow white Anubias, sure, you can sell it for $5 all day long, but they grow so slow and they're hard to make that most times something like that would be like $40. And that's why people want the rare plants, because you're spending $40, you're buying these plants, they don't grow very fast, you need to make $40. and that's why they're that expensive. And so when you go and you're like, yeah, you got to sell these to stores for $20, I got to sell them for 40, and then they're going, oh, they sold two a month. Like that's not worth my time. Where maybe the same rock, but now with the newbie Saint Petite growing faster, and you're selling and they're moving 40 a month, right? And so space and time and all of that is a big factor in that business. You have to keep things moving. There's, you can't have a business that like, well, we sell one product for $1 million every third year, and it costs us, $950,000 to run this company. If you get just a little bit of a delay, you go out of business. So you need throughput, especially with livestock where the guppy only lives for a couple years. If you don't sell them by the first, 6-8 months, you might never sell them. And the plant, if it gets way too long, is now no longer viable. So you have to plan inventory, and that's why there's not just unlimited fish and unlimited plants available at all times, because you have to feed them and clean them like every livestock. All right, so assuming that you've got some fish you're interested in breeding, and you've done your research and you know how to breed them, and you've got some plants picked out, and you've got some stores that you think might buy from you, and maybe you've got a local club that you can sell at some auctions, and you've got maybe a local Facebook group and that type of stuff, and you're going to start a business. So the first thing is have a business name. It seems so simple. Instead of just my name's Cory, I sell stuff, have it be, oh, I'm Cory the fish breeder, or fish bred by Cory. It doesn't have to be crazy. You're not the next Google or Amazon. You don't have to make something up. Just this is who I am. It's easy enough to find, and so it might just be Cory McElroy Aquatics. Easy, right? Get a business license. It's actually very important. If you sell in most states more than $600 worth of stuff in a year, you needed a business license, and some could be less than that, right? So getting a business license is going to help. And then you want to organize your business in a way that won't be a nightmare scenario. So you had to get a business name. You had to register it to do that. You need to get a business license, which you had to register to do that. Then you need a business credit card, bank account. You need that combo, so that everything you buy for your business now, you just run on the one credit card. I would take my wallet out and I would show you how I have that for Aquarium Co-op, but then I would probably accidentally give you my credit card number. But that'll keep all your receipts lined up for you. If you only ever use that card to buy business stuff, don't buy lunch, don't buy a thing, don't just buy something and pay it back later, like it's only ever for business, it makes it super easy at tax time to go, how much did you spend? How much did you make? And how profitable were you? So that I consider to be very important. Yes, you could have just a bank account and a debit card. That's fine too. But know that you're going to be missing out on an average business credit card saves you 2% right there. And when you're looking at running a business, 2% can be a lot. The next thing is make sure you can take credit cards. So you want a system, whether it's Square or PayPal or Venmo, you need to be able to take credit cards from your clients, whether it's a store, whether it's a wholesaler, whether it's someone off the street. You want to be able to take a credit card. It's very hard to take just cash and checks. You will sell more when you can go, hey, we can just swipe the card and you can buy that extra $50 worth of stuff that you didn't have cash for. Because a lot of times people can be cash strapped, especially a local fish store. A lot of times they just have a credit card and they keep paying off the credit card, then they spend it. And they don't have tons of cash sitting around. The cash goes for paying employees and rent and things like that. The next thing I would do is establish a relationship with a bookkeeper. And those can be as cheap as $25 a month. It goes, it'll take them an hour. They're only charging $25. And all they're going to do is download your bank statement for your business, kind of catalog it. They might say, ooh, this purchase here, that looks a little suspect. What'd you buy? And you go, oh yeah, I mass bulk bought this thing. And they go, okay, it's fine. And by the end of the year, yes, you spent $25 a month, but it's a couple of button clicks and you've submitted your taxes, saves you a whole lot of headache. They also, with that 1 hour, a lot of times you can go, hey, does this count for, can I run this through the business? They go, yeah. And when you start leveling up and you want to know, could I write off this room that has all my fish in it? Could I write off my cell phone? Could I write off my internet bill? And they'll help you calculate how much of each of those you can, because if you're still using those for personal as well, it's only portions of them. And sometimes they're like, yeah, you're going to save $11 a month. Don't even start itemizing yet. And that's what they're going to tell you. They're going to be able to guide you, and it's the cheapest business guidance you can buy is having a cheap bookkeeper for a month or for an hour or two a month. So highly recommend it when you're getting into it. The next thing would be print wholesale lists and maintain a database. So what that means is I highly recommend using Google Sheets. Even if you can use Excel and everything, I just recommend using Google Sheets because it'll live in the cloud for you. And you'll list what your fish are. You will list how much they are. You will list the recommended selling price. You might not know what those are yet. You're like, well, how much do I sell the fish for? Like, go look at the 5 stores around you. What are they selling it for? Oh, everyone sells angelfish for $9.99. Then you go, great, here's $9.99 for my recommended selling price. And then you go, okay, I can get on average 1/3-ish of what something sells if you've got a great product. Now, you might list your angels at $3 a piece, and maybe they're paying $3.50 for them at wholesale, or maybe they're paying $2.50, right? But they'll be able to tell you that of like, honestly, I'm ordering them at $2.50, and you might be able to go, yeah, but look at them. They got torn fins. That one's actually missing a fin. That one has no gill plate. All of mine, by the way, I go through them. You'll never get a defect, and if you do, I will replace it somehow because I've missed it. I guarantee my fish. They are locally bred in the water right down the street from you. And how about we meet in the middle at $2.75? $2.75 per angel. You can also on that sheet put minimums. You're not going to make a trip and drive in for 2, right? Oh, you'll take 2 angelfish. You can put, hey, I only sell minimum groups of 12 angels. I only sell minimum groups of 24 or 25 guppies. And then also one of the most important things on this document is pictures of your fish. And what you want to do there is get yourself like a catch cup. This is the Aquariumcoop one, which I've been scooping gravel out with. So it's all scratched up. So don't use one like this where it's cloudy now because I've been scratching it with gravel. Get a brand new one and paint the background. In fact, you're going to want 2 of them. You're going to want one in black and you're going to want one in a lighter blue. And now you can take cell phone pictures of all of your fish. If it's a black fish, don't have it on a black background, obviously, right? So that's why you have blue and you have black. And you're going to store those in your Google Drive and link to them at the name. So when they click the name of the angelfish, it will open up a picture and you will have it actually say, this is our actual fish. You will actually be getting this line, because most things are not what you see is what you get. People just go to the web and they grab a picture of a blue angel. You can show them these are our actual blue angels. These are the exact ones we're breeding. And I usually recommend having the picture of what you're selling, not so much the parents. That just because you see the parents doesn't mean that's what they're going to get. If they can see the babies, then they know what they're getting. And you can also in this sheet put terms of like, hey, I don't show up for less than $100, when you're first starting out, or maybe it's less than $50, and eventually it might be $250 minimum. Whatever your terms are, and maybe you say, hey, we take credit card, we take cash, and we take check. Here's my email, here's my phone number, whatever the things you want on there. And I also print a version of that. So I have both, and I also have, hey, you can actually just go to this link, or you can give me your email and I will link you our wholesale list. I update it once a week, and this is what we have available or don't have available right now. I have a column to the right of that. Makes it very easy for the buyer. That's what you're trying to do. The things that I would skip printing business cards. Business cards won't really do a whole lot for you at this day and age. Don't worry about it. If you have that list and you have what's in stock and you go the extra mile on taking all the pictures and everything, that's going to put you ahead of the competition. Every day, a local store or in the Facebook group, someone's giving fish away or selling them too cheap, and you have to make yourself be reliable, known, you've been doing it a long time. Some people just won't, like, I won't buy someone sometimes, like, I don't know, I've never met this person before. But after 2 or 3 months, like, they're still around. I see their fish in other stores, like, all right, I'll start buying. And so sometimes it's just a time thing. You don't want to, you've got commitments with other vendors, you're ordering fish, and if you stop ordering, they'll stop ordering, and then when you need them again, they don't have them in stock. Happens to us with plants and stuff too. So it's hard to change vendors sometimes for the people buying, not so much retail. Invest in quality bags and label them really well. So it's if you can print the labels, or you have wicked good handwriting, but somehow where it won't run when it gets wet, it's the fish and it's how many of them are in that bag. And you want to deliver fish in bags to the stores so that they can float them or they can move them or they can do whatever they want. You want to bring them in a cooler or insulated totes to them. And then the plants, you can either, if they fit in like Ziploc bags, you could do the same thing and go, hey, there's 5 of these in this bag. Here's what the species is. Or you can go into totes. But it's not good when you're like, here's the tote, and it's a bunch of plants that aren't labeled. That doesn't help them put them away and make it easy. By the way, I skipped something in the plants. Stores basically don't want cuttings. And what that means is, that means you just trim all your plants and you bring a bucket of like, here's plants, they could grow. They don't want them because you have to do all of the work still. And so that's like saying to someone like, hey, you can have the car over there that's been broken down for 15 years. All the tires are flat. It won't start. And it's got bad gas. And I don't have a title. No one wants it. Like, well, that's basically all the work. I can do all the work. That's why it's free. And so by putting them in the pots and doing all the work, that's when now it's worth $2 plus each. So, and my recommendation is go meet someone in person, get their email them the list, do some emails back and forth, right? And set times up to actually sell them. And that's where we come to the next section, which is actually selling the fish. So far, we've only been making fish. We've only been making plants. We've been setting up our business so that we can legally do it and we're not going to, have a problem at the end of the year and not know what we're doing. So we're going to list what I think is the most profitable ways to sell fish. So first, in person is more profitable than online. That's just a fact. But in person, there's still different categories. There's direct buyers. So another consumer, someone in a Facebook group, Craigslist, local aquarium club, that's directly to the consumer. The end user can buy that. You will get the most. If you're breeding angelfish and they sell for $9.99 at a store, you can probably get $8.99 or $9.99 from them, right? That's your most profit. The next one will be stores. Stores will be, they'll buy bigger numbers, right? And then the worst one will be selling to wholesalers. They'll buy giant numbers for very, very little. You could get less than $1 a fish. And depending on what your job is and how much time you are and what scale you are in your business, each one of those makes sense. Like for me, it actually won't make sense for me to sell fish one-on-one if they came here to buy them in my fish room. It would not make sense. It makes sense at our store because now we can have staff doing it. We have lots of choices and all of that. And then it doesn't make sense for us to sell to wholesalers just because I don't make enough fish, right? And we're going to talk about this some more still, so we're not done with this, but I'm going to talk about selling online. When you're selling online, you now have a website that costs money. You have upkeep on that website to keep it compliant and things like that, and you have to keep inventory and all of that way more up to date. You have the shipping costs. You have to actually ship it to a customer, and either they're paying the shipping and you got to ship it to them, and usually you take a loss on that. But it also, just that $9.99 angel is now $9.99 plus shipping. But also, there's people that sell them for $6.99 and $7.99, and so you might only get $6.99 plus the shipping, and you're not getting as much. If you're into that rare stuff, sometimes that makes sense. Like, I could ship a stingray, and it would make sense. Then you've got any of the problems that come along with it. They killed it when they got it, or it died in transit, or it got stuck in a tornado, or there's a snowstorm, or it's just lost. all of that's going to fall to you, and that's not profitable. And you've got to have the customer service part of it of, oh, they're emailing and they're doing all the things and you got to respond to them and where's my package and this and that. And even just normal shipping delays. So when it comes to actually selling, I recommend set specific times. Now, what does that mean? That means if this is your side hustle, you might have a 9-to-5 job, right? And you'll know when you're available to sell fish. You're also going to talk with your vendors. Like, for instance, we don't want anyone bringing us fish on the weekend. We are too busy. We can quarantine and take your fish from you and give you the money and deal with all that Monday through Friday. We set up times. So we want you to email first. Email, go what time works, right? And then show up at that time. Give yourself a 20-minute window. Now, what does that mean? That means whether you're going to them or they're going to you, you say, here is the 20-minute window I will be available so that you remain profitable. If I invite somebody over and they're going to spend $25 on some guppies, but it takes me an hour and a half because they wanted to look at everything and they were hemming and hawing and that won't make you any money. You can't sell enough that way. So one of the things I would also consider is using a calendar app that allows you to have bookable times. So that might mean you work Monday through Friday and you're busy 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., except you have a 1-hour lunch break every day. And you could say, hey, we could meet on my lunch breaks during the week. We could meet between 11 and 1 p.m. on Saturday, and we can meet between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. on Sundays. And now they can choose when to meet up, and you've made 20-minute time blocks, right? So that, oh yeah, you want to come over and you want to get 6 angels? Great. You respond an email. Here's a link to my schedule. Pick a day that makes sense, and you can build in some little terms of like, hey, if you pick a day and you don't show up, I won't sell to you anymore. These are by appointment only, and I have X amount of customers, and we just can't waste time. So I need a 2-day advance if you're not going to show up. Otherwise, I won't be able to work with you anymore. And that will stop a lot of the looky-loos and things like that, and it'll save you so much time. The next thing is, since you are now a business and not just a hobby, and this is kind of one of the final things before we kind of wrap it up, is it's easy. Only take actual money, whether it's credit card, check, cash. Credit and trade just won't keep you in business, and they are a nightmare to document in taxes. Like, well, what do you mean you traded and what was the value? And oh, there's credit here and there's this going on. It also just won't pay the bills. So you want to take actual money, and you'll run into resistance at first. You will, because everyone wants to trade or give you credit or anything before you exhaust all those options. And then, all right. And so when you set the price and yeah, my guppies are $1, and they go, okay, well, we'll give you 20 credit for 20 of them. Like, no. They are $1. I don't need credit. I sell lots of these. I don't need that. And you can tell them, even if I need to buy stuff, you will cut me the check, and then I will buy the stuff from you and pay the tax, because that was what will keep us in compliance. If you start buying things at wholesale, you need to start stocking inventories and paying tax on the inventory and all of that. And you don't want to have to do that at such small numbers, The one thing I did forget when you're kind of buying your supplies and stuff. So let's say you're feeding like some fry food because you're raising the babies. You don't just keep buying these. You'll go out of business. You have to level up and go, oh, I buy it a pound at a time now. This was 4 ounces. This is 4x, but only 3x the price, right? So you're saving money. But I will warn you, what a lot of people do is they gear up for this giant business. I'm going to set up 10 tanks. I need 10 sponge filters, 10 lights, 10 bags of gravel. I need 10 sets of fish. I bought a thing of flake food this big. It'll last me 5 years. You've got all this outlay, and it turns out you're not using it fast enough, or oh, now there's bugs in the food, or I need another food because I'm switching the type of fish. So buying bulk to a point makes a lot of sense. But buying gigantic bulk, unless you're at that scale, makes absolutely no sense. And too often, that'll happen. You'll buy big bulk and then you'll actually come into a deal of like, oh, I was at an auction, or oh, they were clearancing this out at a store and I could have bought it a lot cheaper. So I recommend not really buying anything more than you'll use in 3 months. 3 month maximum. You're looking at, businesses look at themselves quarter to quarter. You also don't want, you bought 5 years worth of flake and that one, it's going staler every day, but then also you should technically be carrying that inventory through 5 years and documenting, and that's a nightmare scenario where if you're using it up every 3 months, the food is fresher. You can switch if you need to. If like, oh, it just turns out discus aren't selling, I need to go with guppies, and the beef heart food I had, the guppies don't want to eat, or whatever it's going to be, right? Uh, so buying in bulk, you're going to need to feed your plants. You can buy fertilizers. Easy Green is basically the most concentrated thing you can buy. There's other stuff you can do too, but be efficient with your money. Obviously, businesses are always looking to do that. Buy it with a credit card, so you're saving another 2% right off the top. And all of these things are how you stay in business. It's the person that's just flying by the seat of their pants. They paid with cash. They didn't track it. It's not, oh, then it didn't become a tax deduction and this happened and this happened and this happened. Where by doing things the way we've laid them out, you have the most chance of actually having a success in turning the side hustle into a legitimate business that has dependable income month in and month out, that has a track record, so that you can actually qualify for loans and houses, and the income is provable on paper. I don't know how many businesses we've watched like skirt it, and then all of a sudden they can't qualify for things, like they're making money but not on paper. That's not legal, but also it just runs into problems when they do want to make the next jump in business. They do want to get this thing going. And the other person that you're working with stores and stuff, they want to be legit too. Like, I'm going to report everything I buy from you. You need to report it also. They need to line up or you're going to get audited. And when you start getting audited and then they start wanting to look at my books, I don't want to buy from you anymore, because now you've become more trouble than you're worth. And as you might be working with 10 different stores. They're all going to get irritated. And when you're selling to individual customers, that's not as much of an issue there. But the cleaner your books are and the more honest you are, the more likely you are to be successful. The part where you make the money in this business is learning the skills to have the green thumb with plants, to have the ability to breed the fish, to have the ability to talk to humans and build a rapport with store owners, or be able to market on Facebook, which I realize, people are going to go, you can't sell live animals on Facebook. It's done every day. You just use emojis for the price instead of actually writing the price so it doesn't get flagged. And I'm not saying that you should necessarily do that. Like, I myself, I always catch a lot of flack. I believe this business actually does best when you're selling to stores, because you can get recurring business that does really well. Selling to individual users, I find to cost too much time. And as a side hustle, if you're working 9 to 5, the last thing you want is a Tuesday night where someone won't leave your fish room. Like, I've got to start dinner for the family. What do you need? Well, I just had one more question and one more question and one more question. And then, let's say they kill all the fish and you're trying to help them and they're irate, and now they're knocking on your door, and it's Friday night and you're supposed to go to the movies, but you've got a customer at the door. That doesn't happen with the store owners or the wholesalers, or shipping online either. You could do that too. But I find for most people, selling directly to stores and only negotiating with one person there, and over time you can basically give yourself raises of like, guess what? Guppies are now $1.25. I'm selling to all 10 stores. My guppies are coming in bigger. I'm feeding them better food. They're selling better for you. They're now $1.25. And you might have 2 out of the 8 or out of the 10 stores say, well, I'm not buying from you anymore. And you go, that's fine. More for the rest of them. And because selling 100 guppies to every store, if you're selling 1,000 guppies at $1, it's $1,000. But if you sell 800, at $1.25 because 2 stores dropped out, that's $1,200. That's a better take, right? And so you will just keep leveling up. And we talked about that. Like, yep, month 1, you're just setting up like a tank. Month 2, you're setting up the second tank and the third tank. And maybe you're making $100 by the end of year 1. And by the end of year 2, you're making $300 to $500 a month. And year 3, you're between 500 and 1,000. And you might have only landed store number 6 in year 3 because you were just didn't have the skills or the different amounts of fish or whatever. Or you might have to pivot. This store only wants the African cichlids, and I don't really breed African cichlids yet, but I could. And so from here, I highly recommend checking out the series. It's a playlist of 8 videos. Watch through that and start putting a plan together. If this is something you're interested, you've watched an hour on this now, and yeah, good luck, and I think you can do it.